if you just be patient. I've been on your mind and now you sick and tired of waiting. All my niggas grinding, so we get it out the pavement.
And then I got involved in the radio program, WNSB 91.1. Mr. Turner was there at the time. He's still there, legendary. And I just went to the radio station and acted like I had done it before. Lied, hustled my way in, gave me a job, and that's kind of how I started. And I just worked my way from there. And it was a grind, it was grit, but I was just kind of like tunnel visioned, and I knew, okay, I can make money doing this. This seems like the way to go. Versus this, which is not the way to go. And that's kind of like the decision at that point, the turning point for me to like really focus.
So would you say like that Upward program was like that green pill, blue pill moment?
Yeah, I really do. I think that Upward Bound program was like that, just that moment where you can make a decision, where you can either go left or you can go right? Because when you grow up in those environments, you know, sometimes a lot of people don't make it out. They don't make it out that environment because that's all you know, that's all you see. So you become the product of the environment. And so even though I knew that I didn't want to be that, I could have easily had become that. If I didn't have that aha moment, like, oh wow, like people really make money doing this. I remember we went on one of the trips and we went to a television station and I'm like, how much you get paid? And the guy was like, $80,000 a year. And to me, I thought that was a lot of money. I was like, $80,000 a year just to talk?
To $1 million.
I was like, to talk? And I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. And so that kind of was like, these little seeds along the way kind of was like, oh, okay, I could do that. Bet.
Like when you're in high school, going to college, you have these like tiny little descriptions of like these careers that make you pick your major about a field that you essentially really know nothing about. And that's why panels like these are so important, to really get insight on the different, you know, things that are out there that aren't just, you know, so black and white. And I remember there was a time where like Yvette Noel Shore, who's Beyonce's publicist, most people know her Beyonce's publicist, came and spoke to us. And then there was another, she's the original Olivia Pope. I hate that I can't remember her name. But it was, you know, black women like that coming and seeing them talk about, you know, their journeys that made me realize it was possible. And then like even now where I'm currently at, I look around me and I'm inspired by those around me. Like even TT, recently we worked on an initiative together at Summer Jam, and I'm watching TT backstage, like I'm talking to men twice her size, like huge artists, like commanding the room and like and moving with grace, but like assertiveness. And so, you know, I look at people around me as well, but yeah, I'm gonna say that.
Protect black art.
Make
sure you protect black art. That was a great campaign we worked on too. Being a master at something and then spreading it. Because if you are just thinking, okay, I'm gonna be a personality today, or I'm gonna get a viral moment, or I'm gonna do this little TikTok trend, but when that is over, then what's next? Because we've seen Twitter, we've seen Facebook, we've seen what's the other stuff, MySpace, and all of these trendy things, they come and they go, and the next platform happens, and then you gotta be on the next platform, and you gotta do the next thing, you gotta do that. But what is that one thing you're gonna work at, and you're gonna dedicate, and you're gonna spend time to year after year and after year, building that brand, building that cachet, never giving up. And I think that is like the underlying fundamental thing, is patience and putting in that work consistently.
Absolutely. This is not a business where you can be a jack of all trades. You become a jack of all trades, a master of none. And in this business, you're just gonna look really thirsty, really extra, and like you lack direction. So to piggyback.
You can't manufacture hard work, right? So like a lot of times you see people like, oh, I'm lit, I'm here, I'm at this party, and da 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 da. And it appears that they're working hard, right? But in the results, you're looking at the results and you're seeing nothing. Because you're not really doing nothing. You're not moving culture. You're not getting one step closer. You're just everywhere doing a bunch of nothing but posting. So I think you have to really hone in on what is it that you are innately good at. That God's gift that's inside of you, that you do it so naturally that it just comes. You know, it's like brushing your teeth in the morning. You know what I'm saying? That gift is what needs to be nurtured.
Yeah, and I will say too, like one of the fundamental things that you'll learn is that the people that you start in the business with aren't gonna be the people, like the people that I started with. Some of the people are already gone, right? So you wanna pay attention to who are the women that have the same work ethic that I have, that are 100% sure that they're in this game for long term, because those are the people that you wanna build with, and that I promise you 10 years, 15 years, I'm 15 years in now, you will still have those relationships. But you have to start that foundation really, really early and to see who's gonna distract me and who can I actually build with and learn from. Like the ultimate low moment in your career, what did you learn from it and how did you rise out of that?
Oh, for me, I think my low came this year. I had an artist that I was working with from the very beginning of his career. We had a lot of milestones together. His first TV performance, his double XL freshman cover, and this year, unfortunately, he passed away. And the artist was Lil Keed. He passed away, and it was a low because he was so young, and he was getting ready to drop an album, and I had just seen him like 2 weeks ago, and it was just very unexpected in the midst of everything that was going on, and me and some of other people that were close on his team, we helped, plan his funeral, and while it was very heavy, it was also still very therapeutic. I felt like I sent him home in a way that he appreciated, that he would have loved. At his repast, with his family, listen to his music, watching his daughter, dance and rap his songs. It was a very fulfilling experience. And, while it was a low, it was a great reflection moment for me that I was able to, contribute to his life even in the smallest way, and, his legacy as well, that his family and his daughter will remember.
Beautiful.
I've had so many lows. I can't pinpoint any particular one, but you're gonna have them. Trust me, you're gonna have them, but you're gonna get through them. That's the biggest part. But if I can share one, I can say recently I've experienced kind of the same thing with the passing of the legendary DJ K Slay. It was so unexpected, and just planning his funeral and making sure that we were respectful of his wishes and his mother's wishes, and that's a lot to take on. But it felt really good to do something for someone you love and you respect. But again, you're gonna have a lot of lows in this business, a lot. But the key is you gotta just push through them.
Push through them, stay positive, tap into your network, and there's always a solution. It's one thing I'll say, there's always a solution. Which leads me to my next question. For front and back facing positions in music, how important is the concept of media training and crisis management? I feel like both of these events that you mentioned kind of lead to that.
That says me as the publicist, media training is so important, whether you're in front of the camera or behind it. A lot of people don't understand that the art of conversation really is an art, right? And even if you are, lively and you're friendly, you can really dig yourself in a hole if you are not aware of, certain talking points and different ways to engage in conversation, if you're more antisocial. And when you have a platform, it becomes, you're under a magnifying glass. So everything that you say is important and it's tracked. It can be taken out of context. It can be applied to different situations. So every single one of my artists, I have media training. I don't care if you've done a million interviews or who you are, or if you're the most friendly person on the planet, it's very important. And then on the back end, as people who represent these artists or represent our companies, and in talking about culture and entertainment, it can feel really casual, but it's not that. It is also business at the end of the day. So you need to know how to carry yourself. You need to know how to address sensitive topics, right? We're in hip hop. Things happen. People pass. People get locked up. There's legal situations, and you need to know how to navigate those. So media training is important. The art of conversation is important, even on a person-to-person level is important. So I'll die on the hill a million times, but I know you, as someone on the other end of the mic who interviews people, you tell me.
I mean, she's absolutely right. It's like you have, and here's the thing. I work as an executive, and I also am a multimedia talent, right? So I interview artists, I'm on the radio, I'm on TV. So I have to always media train myself and watch what I say and how I say it, because I understand that what I say can not only just impact my brand, but also the brand that I manage as well. So that's a big thing. Sometimes I do want to comment when people say crazy things like, oh, da, 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 but I have to pull myself back and realize that, you know, I'm not just representing TT Torres's brand, I'm also representing Hot 97's brand. So how would that be taken out of context, and how would that negatively impact my company, or would I write positively impact my company?
The topic and theme for this year's ENVSN Fest, which is about writing and creating your own story, taking agency for that narrative, right? So I want to say, when writing your own story and narrative, what do you think is the most important theme or lesson to like take with you personally?
That is a really good question. For my personal story, I still feel like it's still unwritten because I'm still writing it as I grow as a human, as a person. But I think when writing your own story is about just really taking accountability for your own life, right? And how does that play out? And accountability is a big thing, right? How are you spending your time? How are you working on your creative? How are you impacting the world? How are you self-loving yourself? All of that plays into how you write your story and how you present yourself to the world. And I think that is really about accountability and how you feel about yourself.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Yeah, I love that. For me, I would probably say that this industry can be a lot about, you know, the who's who and like, you know, what you do and who you know. But for me, it's very important that the connections that I make, it's, you know, they know that, you know, Daniil, you know, messes with me because of who I am as a person, or just making genuine connections with people. And I think I always want to stay true to that. Like, we can be professional, right? We could be colleagues, but we don't have to be friends. But then we can also do that as well, but in the most genuine way. And it's not because of like who you know or what you have, and vice versa for me as well. So I would say that.
One thing for me, like I'm on the strategy side, so like my job is to come up with creative content. And a narrative or like a theme that we constantly go through is the hero's journey, right? The biggest movies that we know or that we love, like Game of Thrones and all these franchises, there's a formula to each of these stories, and that formula is the hero's journey. So now with where I'm at in my career, I try to take what I learned from work and bring that hero's journey right back to myself, because I am my hero. So as I am my hero, I go through all these challenges. So I think about my life as a movie now and make choices based on that lens of like, I am the hero, and how is this choice gonna continue this movie that I'm building, you know, for myself with my legacy. So hopefully that resonates with you guys. So TT, I have a question for you specifically, right? I wanna say, right, you've been in radio for a long time, and now you have your own podcast now. We've been seeing that radio is dead, or I don't think radio is dead, it's just a little different, right?
Watch it. We are far from dead.
Right, we're far from dead, right? I know radio's huge in New York, huge in LA, there's certain markets it's not so big. How has radio experience helped you transition into podcasting, which is now giving women more spaces to share their voices, experience, and insights? Let us know about that transition and how you took that skill set and brought it to the podcast world.
Well, radio is just an extension of everything else that you have going on. Radio will never be dead because radio is free.
Period.
So, you know, and it's local. So radio, in a sense, will always be something that will be around. It's a timeless piece. You may consume it differently, right? You may consume it via an app. You may consume it via digital. A lot of my quote-unquote interviews are mainly consumed on, you know, the YouTube pages and channels, but it's always there. It's an extension of what it is on the FM dial. So think about it in that perspective. And it amplifies whatever you have going on. Because if you really break down the cume and how many people, I'll just start being geeky with you guys on that perspective. But I think as technology grows, you must grow. And you have to grow with it, or you're gonna be lost in the sauce. And that comes with any field that you work in. Whether you work as a truck driver, when they start making automated trucks, and you're gonna have to learn how to adjust. So that adjustment may be, okay, I might not specifically be behind the truck, but I'm gonna own the one that has that particular technology. So that's how you have to treat your brand. So naturally, going into podcasting was a natural thing for me because podcasting is essentially radio. It's the personality where, you know, when new devices came in and they said PPM and all of that, and you have to talk less, they cut out a lot of the radio personality in radio so we can talk less on the FM dial. Girl, how old do you think we are?
I mean, maybe because I went away to school. Maybe because I went away and I left New York. I didn't really have a lot of environments with like.
No, these events are important because you get to interface with people and you get to network. And when I went to Norfolk State University, we had a lot of these events. I feel like we have more than we back then now than we do now, right?
No, what it is, I went to a really white school, so I had
you had a different experience. But HBCU, we had all these networking events.
All the time.
I spent my time at Syracuse University was predominantly white.
Okay.
So I had a cultural shock experience when I got to college because I was not from New York. It was the first time that I was around.
You went where? Syracuse?
I went to Syracuse.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was the first time me being a little brown Harlem girl, seeing and having to work and live with that many white people, and it was, you know, it was a cultural experience, and it wasn't until I came back to New York that I actually gained confidence and met other women of color because it just wasn't, we were really small.
No, and I think you did the right thing. You're seeking these things, right? I think with the internet, with social media, you can now find information a lot quicker, so you can, you know, with a hashtag, look for these events. And I think these events are important to network and get to know people and have that face-to-face. I know a lot of people feel like you don't really need face-to-face now because you have social media and technology at your disposal, but it is really cool because you never know what perspective that you can leave on somebody in person. You know, having these in-person events are important. And I know growing up in radio, that's kind of how I got a lot of my contacts. I would just, what event is that? Oh, I'm paying for my own. What? I got a room with like 30 girls in a room? Okay, I'm doing that. I'm going to the award show. I'm going here. I'm going there. I just need to be in these spaces because the power of networking is really, really real. And if you can have someone in your contact sheet that you can call, and they're like, yo, I like that girl. She left a nice impression. Maybe I should call her in for something. Or you got something over here because I met this girl. Let me send you her information. She might be a good fit if she's not for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And all you guys are doing the right thing and, you know, in being here and trying to learn more. Because kind of like something I said earlier, like when you're in school, you're not learning about the nooks and crannies of all these different industries, right? Like you could be an accounting major in school but still really love entertainment. Like record labels are still a business. There's still an accounting and a finance department. You know, you could think that, you know, PR is this, you know, this stoic thing that's only for brands and whatever, but it applies to so many things, music, healthcare, all these other places that you wouldn't know unless you went out and sought out that information because there's only so much, you know, in college that they can teach you about it. So being here and learning about, you know, like what TT does, what I do, you know, you're not going to find a major specifically for it. So you guys going out and seeking that information is very important as you guys, you know, navigate through your careers.
And to piggyback off of what she said, I think that's a very great point you brought up because there is a lot of other opportunities in entertainment that doesn't necessarily have to be in front of the mic or in front of the camera. I recently sat down with somebody who wants to be a lawyer, and I'm like, okay, you want to be a lawyer, and loves to debate, loves the criminal part of being a lawyer, but also loves the entertainment part of it. I'm like, well, you can be an entertainment lawyer, and you never know what criminal stuff your artist may get into. It's still something there. If you're a tax accountant, you can really be a tax accountant to major celebrities and firms, or a business manager that does business management for entertainment. There is so many different avenues to get into in entertainment that doesn't just require you to be one-dimensional if that's not what you're really good at. If you are good at numbers, there's so many avenues in numbers. If you're good at law, there's so many avenues at law. I can go on and on and on.
You're good at tech. You would like to build things.
Tech,
A lot of people
digital,
tech, digital
apps, you know,
apps.
branding,
Wow.
so stores where they have to shop for merch, stuff like that.
Yeah, do you also remember that the music business, I said this a bunch of times, music business is still a business, so there's, you know, there's always a way to like, to get there.
And on that note, I'd like to...
Thank you.
You're living in just your own world. You're not putting your head up. You're not looking to the left. You're not looking to the right. So for me, I'm open arms. I can learn from my little sister. I can learn from my elders. I can learn from different cultures. That's what it's all about. It's like discovering. And as you grow, that's when you become something new, because you're discovering new parts of things that you didn't even know that you like, that you weren't exposed to. So I think that's what diversity does. It gives you a chance to look into someone else's world and kind of get out of your own way and say, wow, this is going on in the world, right? The world is huge. It doesn't look one way. It can't.
Absolutely. I have just a couple more questions, and then we're going to open this up to audience questions. So get ready if you have some. Tell me about differentiating yourself between Pheenoel the person and Pheenoel the brand. Because when a brand is your name, I imagine it can be hard to differentiate sometimes.
It is hard. I am Fee the woman. There's so much more to me. I am way more than one thing. I think when you're in the creative world, Pheenoel, and just even my advisors, they're like, you have to stick to one thing so that people can get it, they can understand, they can know how to identify you. And Fee the woman is now like, I'm too much to be one thing. I'm too much to be one way. And I want to be able to find a way creatively how to express all these different sides of me. And I'm like sitting here and I'm cool and I'm calm right now, but I could be in Grenada Carnival. You might see me in a party. You might not the same Fee. And I love all parts of me, and that's what gives me my perspective. And I think that women, we're so special. We're all different. The way our minds work, our bodies, all of that stuff. I want to embrace everything that we are. And I want people to be able to express themselves in that way. Express who it is that you are, not what the world said we should be. Who it is that you are. Who do you want to be? And what does that look like? And that's what Fee the woman is, right? It's like me saying like, okay, I don't have to follow this rule because I've created enough to say, this is who I am now. This is who I'm not. And both are important.
Are there goals that you have set for the future where you're like, okay, this is a moment where I really feel like I've made it, or just something that's personally important to you? Putting on that big show was really aha moment for me. Like, wow, people were excited to come see this. They were waiting for it. And that felt really special. I just did a pop-up shop in Brooklyn and there were lines outside and that felt super special. So I feel like I'm living in my made it season, and there are gonna be other things and other goals that I have, of course, that I'm gonna set along the way. But I feel like I'm living in my season right now. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And just being able to, again, have these opportunities where people wanna hear me talk is a made it for me. All right, my final question before we throw it to the crowd, and this will still be relevant to everybody here. What advice would you have for young Gen Z women of color who want to make it in luxury fashion? Are there certain skills that you think it's absolutely imperative that they have?
For me, again, I wasn't formally trained, right? Like I learned along the way, it was trial and error. And I think that you can be formally trained or not, right? Like there's room for you. What I do, hone in on your voice and always be learned. Always, always, always learn. Always, that's the only way, that's the only path, is like when you're teaching yourself, whether it's in a school or it's you're self-taught, like myself, knowledge is the most powerful thing that you can have. And sometimes you don't even know what you don't know.
So you always have to be searching, like, if there's something that you want to know about, how do I learn this? How can I speak to someone? Always feed yourself. Always, always. I'm telling you, when you do that, you'll never be in the same place that you was. You're always gonna get a step ahead, a step ahead, a step ahead. And that's honing on your voice and what you want to say. And once you have that, you're gonna find your people that's gonna help you continue to carry that message across.
I love that, because that's also the same advice I give people who ask me about journalism. I'm like, find your voice.